The South Korean entertainment industry is once again shaken by news that has left the public, especially ARMY, shocked and confused. In the midst of BTS's internal preparations to face the transition period towards more intense group activities after the members' mandatory military service ends, shocking information has emerged. Jungkook is rumored to be prioritizing his project with the international brand Calvin Klein over being fully involved in planning BTS's major projects. A big question has arisen. Could this be a sign of tension between individual interests and the group's agenda under HYBE? Industry sources revealed that several crucial meetings regarding BTS's comeback plans reportedly took place without Jungkook's full presence. These meetings were believed to be critical stages for outlining musical concepts, release schedules, and global promotional strategies. His absence has fueled widespread speculation that Jungkook's priorities have shifted, especially after the Calvin Klein campaign he starred in achieved global success and brought massive attention to him as an individual. Among industry observers, Jungkook's move is seen as a signal of a paradigm shift among K-pop artists who are starting to place solo careers, endorsements, and personal branding on par with, or even above, their commitment to the group. This phenomenon is not entirely new, but the fact that it is happening to a figure as significant as Jungkook, known as BTS's golden magne, makes the situation far more sensitive. Moreover, BTS is not just a music group, but HYBE's most valuable asset with enormous economic and cultural influence. Public reactions have been divided. Some ARMY members fully support Jungkook's decision to develop his solo career and view his involvement in Calvin Klein's campaign as a strategic step to expand his global reach. However, many others feel disappointed, concerned that this decision might disrupt BTS's internal harmony and weaken the group's focus on important projects. On social media, heated debates have emerged, with unofficial hashtags and long discussions questioning whether HYBE has lost full control over its artists' priorities. One of the hottest points in this issue is the suspicion that HYBE is now in a difficult position. On one hand, they certainly want to maintain the artists' commitment to BTS projects, which are commercially profitable and a cornerstone of the company's reputation. On the other hand, it is undeniable that Jungkook's individual brand value has skyrocketed, largely thanks to his collaboration with Calvin Klein, which has successfully penetrated the international fashion market. This dilemma raises the question, will HYBE push Jungkook to refocus entirely on BTS, or will they give him more space for his individual activities? Entertainment business analysts believe this situation could be the biggest test of HYBE's artist management strategy in the last decade. Dealing with a superstar whose brand power is equal to, or even greater than, the group itself requires extremely careful maneuvering. Failing to balance priorities and expectations could lead to cracks in internal dynamics, even potentially shifting contractual relationships. The global Calvin Klein campaign with Jungkook is no small matter. Its photos and promotional videos broke engagement records across multiple social media platforms, with millions of interactions in just hours. This success not only elevated Jungkook's name, but also proved the independent market power he possesses. This is what has sparked concerns that future BTS promotional schedules could be disrupted if major brands continue competing for Jungkook's time and energy. Speculation intensified when several internally planned BTS schedules were reportedly revised due to adjustments for the members' individual agendas. Although there has been no direct confirmation, many suspect Jungkook's Calvin Klein campaign schedule was one of the factors behind the delays. Fans who have been eagerly awaiting BTS's full return have grown increasingly frustrated, as the lack of clear information has left room for rumors to spread. For some within the industry, Jungkook's choice to engage heavily in a global fashion project instead of attending all BTS project meetings is not just a professional decision, but also a statement that the era when K-pop artists fully submitted to group schedules is beginning to change. This also serves as a warning to HYBE that maintaining artist loyalty can no longer rely solely on the group's big name, but must also accommodate their individual interests and aspirations. Meanwhile, amid the heated debate, some believe Jungkook's decision could actually benefit BTS in the long run. An individual's skyrocketing popularity can strengthen the group's appeal when they reunite, provided that coordination and promotional strategies are executed carefully. However, The biggest risk remains the possibility of focus gaps between members that could affect the group's overall quality of work. HYBE is now at a high-pressure crossroads. If they impose too strict a control, they risk triggering internal tensions that could damage long-term relations with Jungkook. If they are too lenient, they could lose control over BTS's direction as a global brand. This situation has drawn many eyes to the company's next move, as whatever decision they make will have major consequences, both commercially and emotionally. For fans, one thing is certain: the public demands answers. Is it true that Jungkook now prefers Calvin Klein over BTS's major projects? Or is this merely a temporary phase that will fade once his individual schedule is complete? These questions remain unanswered, leaving ARMY and industry observers in a state of tension. All parties are now waiting to see whether HYBE will turn this situation into a positive momentum or let it develop into a prolonged source of friction. For now, the silence from official channels only fuels the storm of speculation. Industry insiders note that this is not just a scheduling conflict, it is a battle for narrative control. The public perception of where Jungkook's loyalties lie could have long-term implications, not just for BTS's cohesion, but also for HYBE's overall brand integrity. A misstep in communication could easily escalate into a crisis of trust, especially in a fandom as vast and vocal as ARMY. The stakes are enormous. BTS's next phase after military service is expected to redefine their legacy, and any hint of disunity could cast a shadow over the group's return. Jungkook's current momentum in the global fashion scene is undeniable, but the question remains: will it complement or compete with BTS's musical resurgence? This delicate balance between personal growth and group solidarity will likely determine the trajectory of both Jungkook's career and BTS's collective future. Until a clear direction emerges, speculation will continue to dominate both public discourse and internal corporate discussions. Every move, every absence, and every brand partnership will be scrutinized. In the high-stakes world of global entertainment, perception often shapes reality, and right now, that reality is hanging in the balance. The news that has recently circulated, claiming that Jungkook chose the Calvin Klein project over his commitment to BTS and placed HYBE in a corner, is an unfounded and misleading claim. What concrete evidence underlies such a sensational narrative? First, almost all the elements presented in the initial article rely on assumptions, anonymous sources that cannot be verified, and speculative interpretations of publicly available promotional activities. The claims about absence from important meetings or priority shifting to endorsements are not supported by verifiable documentation. There is no official agenda published, no meeting records made public, and no factual statement containing concrete details about internal schedules. Taking fragments of a public figure's activities, such as photo shoots or brand campaigns, and crafting them into a conflict narrative without additional evidence is a journalistic practice far from verification standards. Second, the presentation of the relationship between individual brand collaborations and group commitments is framed as if they are exclusive and mutually eliminating. In modern entertainment industry practices, especially at the level of global artists, commercial collaborations and group responsibilities are often managed through complex scheduling and further coordination between management teams, brands, and creative teams. Citing international campaign activities as proof that an artist chooses an individual project over group duties ignores the usual coordination dynamics and dismisses the possibility of prior time negotiations. Oversimplifying this process into a moral contradiction misleads readers. Third, the narrative built using social media engagement metrics as proof of personal priority is a methodological misinterpretation. High interaction rates on brand promotional material demonstrate marketing effectiveness and public appeal, but they do not necessarily indicate that an artist is placing other responsibilities second. Public metrics are reactive and easily influenced by viral contexts. Using them as a basis to accuse a shift in professional loyalty is entirely inadequate. Fourth, the initial article fails to distinguish between analytical review and destructive rumors. Many claims are presented without clarity as to whether they are interpretations from industry sources, analysts' hypotheses, or mere public speculation. Readers are entitled to a clear separation between facts, informed opinions, and speculation. Blurring these boundaries damages reporting objectivity and opens the door for misunderstandings that could harm individuals and passionate fan communities. Fifth, the social impact of spreading unfounded claims should not be underestimated. Unverified accusations can intensify pressure on the artist, trigger polarization among fans, and lead to emotional attacks against those involved. Moreover, sensational headline maneuvers such as cornered or choosing push the narrative into a confrontational space, often far from the complex realities of business. Responsible reporting must take into account the psychological and reputational impact of every claim made. Sixth, there is an urgent need for both readers and media practitioners to demand higher verification standards. Before accepting controversial claims as facts, reasonable steps include checking whether supporting documents exist, whether sources are given context, whether the narrative built considers plausible alternative explanations, and whether there is an attempt to confront claims with verifiable data. Without these steps, news consumers will merely repeat rumors that ultimately harm all parties. Seventh, it is natural for the public to feel curious or disappointed when information regarding group or individual activities is incomplete. However, that curiosity should not become an excuse to accept or spread weakly supported claims. Sharp and skeptical criticism of sensational reporting is, in fact, an important contribution to a healthy information ecosystem. Conclusion. The narrative that Jungkook chose Calvin Klein over BTS projects and placed management in a corner does not withstand critical examination of evidence and logic. Until there is concrete, verifiable proof, such claims should be treated purely as speculation, not as facts that can serve as a basis for public judgment or action. Readers are urged to refrain from spreading information that cannot yet be confirmed true and to prioritize verification over sensation.